My name is Steve Breaker. I'm with Worthwhile Films, nonprofit media. I produce video for nonprofits. I'm here to tell you a little bit about how to do do-it-yourself video. There are a lot of projects that you can take care of on your own. Sometimes there's a hybrid project where you need some help with one or more aspects, such as editing. In this particular piece, I'm going to just run over some of the very basic technical issues that you want to be aware of, mostly technical, when you're setting out to shoot a video. There are, of course, all kinds of videos you could be doing. My specialty is documentary, so most of what I say will refer to that, and it's probably relevant to what you're doing anyway. Basically, the first priority, this part isn't technical, but the first priority in any, I think in any piece, is the story. You can do all the technical things right, and if you don't know what you're setting out to do, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have something that you've identified clearly you want to get across, you don't really have a piece. A couple things related to that: interview the person in an interesting and relevant location. Engage the person in a real conversation. Again, this is, if you're doing an interview, you want to make them comfortable, sit down or whatever, but just make sure it's a conversation between you and the other person. It shouldn't be something where you're either feeding them lines or they're on the spot to kind of put together all of the pieces for you. In another piece, I'll be talking about planning, but obviously you want to cover everything that you planned, cover all the topics you planned. You want to have questions in advance. You want to be ready to do follow-up questions. In most cases, you want to broaden it then from your plan and ask them about some other things that might be relevant. You may find that some future piece could benefit from something this person you're working with says might become useful in another context. So that all has to do with priority number one, which is the story. Priority two is not video quality, but audio quality. If you can't understand what somebody's saying, or if audio is mushy or otherwise bad, depending on the kind of piece you're doing, but in most cases, that's going to have the most negative effect of anything you can do. I will, just as a little example, I'm going to ask Ben to unplug this nice clip-on microphone I have on here. And you will probably be hearing very echoey and not so bright sound, and it's probably a little difficult to hear me. And when he plugs it back in, you can now hear what I'm saying, and you can ignore what you couldn't hear back there. So if you can be working with equipment that allows you to plug in a microphone, that's a huge plus, and have an omnidirectional microphone. If you have, depending on how far you want to go with the technology, this is really the easiest thing to do if you're working with one person at a time, which I would recommend when you're starting out. But shotgun microphones are another option. If you simply don't have that option, if you're using a mobile phone or a camera or just something that doesn't give you that option, get as close as you can to the person. It may detract from the video image, but if it takes that to get decent sound, you may need to do that. What else? You want to reduce, even with this microphone, you want to try to reduce background noise and distractions. You may need to change locations if it just doesn't work. That doesn't mean to avoid places with background noise if it's relevant to the subject and relatively consistent. If you're talking to somebody in a crowd, as long as you can get that good sound so you can hear what they're saying, you can work with the background noise. But in general, you want to minimize it as much as possible. You want to use headphones if possible, so that you you know what's going on with the sound. In a lot of cases, that's just not going to be possible because I think less and less of the consumer equipment has that even as an option anymore. Priority 3 does not mean it's not a priority, but it's behind the other two, to me, is video quality. You do the best you can with the circumstances you have. I would say find even existing light, don't try to create it. There are lots of things that can be done with lighting, but again, if you're just starting out, chances are additional lighting will be a detraction rather than a benefit. Avoid bright or distracting backgrounds. You've probably seen when the sky shows up in the background of a shot and somebody's face gets washed out. Just be aware of those kinds of things. Look at your viewfinder. I'm hoping you have one of those. Minimize moves and zooms. That doesn't mean don't do them, but do them with purpose. Ben has me set up here. I'm not doing anything very interesting. Just having the camera point at me is really good enough for this. There may be different things you do when you're going to edit a piece. He's also got me pretty much at eye level, and both for being able to have a person's face to look at and not just be talking to a machine, and just for the natural look. Point the camera, have the camera at your eye level and looking at the other person's eye level. You'll also notice this camera is this picture is incredibly stable because it's sitting on a tripod, and I would say for most cases, if at all possible, you want to do a tripod. All of these rules are made to be broken, but do that consciously. There's all kinds of cases where running after something with a camera to get an event is going to be what works, and don't shy away from doing that. But when you have a controlled situation, just take as much control of it as you can and make sure that the story is there and the audio is there and the video is there.